All right, it is semifinal Sunday here in Fort Worth, Texas at the WTA Finals. We have two matches today. The first match is going to be Krejcikova and Siniakova against Kichenok and Ostapenko. And then for the night session, we have Desirae Krawczyk Demi Schuurs against Kudermetova and Mertens. So we're going to preview those two matches and then talk a little bit about how the week has been so far. Joining me is Hanlon Walsh. Hanlon,
hey guys,
welcome.
Thank you.
So we've been to the tournament every day this week, and starting off at 1:30, both matches are going to be on Tennis Channel, so be sure to watch them. At 1:30, we've got the Czechs against Kichenok and Ostapenko. The Czechs have not dropped a set. They've looked better with each match. I think their first match was at 4-all in the first set before they won at 6-4, and then their last match they won 2-1. Ostapenko and Kichenok have gone to 3 sets in all 3 of their matches, getting their first win yesterday in qualifying after Kudermetova and Mertens beat Olmos and Dabrowski last night. What are you expecting in this first one?
Yeah, I mean, the Czechs have looked pretty unstoppable the entire tournament so far. But I do think that Kichenok and Ostapenko, can give them a little bit of run for their money in terms of ground strokes just off the ground. I think we'll see a lot of good backhand cross-court exchanges between Ostapenko and Siniakova, both who I think prefer their backhand side. Krejcikova is so solid from the baseline, so I think we'll see a lot of consistency from her, like we normally do, setting up Siniakova. And then Kichenok has just looked really solid at the net too. So I think we'll see Kichenok and Siniakova probably being the more dominant players at the net, and then Ostapenko and Krejcikova, I would think, from the baseline, controlling a lot of the rallies, trying to set their partners up at the net.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of an interesting matchup because both teams run things a little bit differently on their own serve. The Czechs use a lot of I formation. They serve down the tee a lot. Most other teams know it, and they don't care if you know it. They're still going to use it, and they're still probably going to beat you doing it. And then Kichenok and Ostapenko rarely run the I formation. They play traditional doubles straight up. They'll get into those cross-court rallies. Kichenok moves well at the net off of Ostapenko's ground strokes. I think it's going to be a tough one. There's, with this format, with the deciding points, the 10-point tiebreakers, anything can happen. But I would be surprised if the Czechs lost.
Yeah, I could see it being like maybe a 4-4 or 5 and 2 tough straight sets, but they don't seem to have any weaknesses. I mean, if you were coaching Ostapenko and Kichenok, what would be your strategy? Like where are their holes to fill on the Czechs game? I haven't seen any.
Yeah, it's tough. Their weaknesses are much are less weak than anyone else's weaknesses, and their strengths are stronger than anyone else's strengths. So that's why they're so good.
I guess that does it.
Yeah. If you can keep Siniakova back at the baseline, that's a win. If you can get Krejcikova to the ad court, that's kind of a win, although she's still really good there.
So a win to keep Siniakova at the baseline just for lack of not having her in the net, or does she have weaknesses, in her ground stroke?
Her forehand's a little bit weaker. So if you can find her forehand, that's ideal. But that's in the middle of the court. So if Krejcikova's up at the net and she's pinching the middle, it's tough to find Siniakova's forehand. So she's back in the ad court, kind of rallying with her backhand. And she's really good at that. She's better at the net, but she's still really good at the baseline. So it's just a really tough matchup overall.
One shot too that I haven't seen, and I haven't watched enough of Kichenok and Ostapenko, but it doesn't seem like they incorporate the lob as much as other teams do. And I think if you have someone like at least Mertens or Juju Olmos, or someone who has a really good lob, that seems that could be an effective strategy against the Czechs, I would think. If you're wanting to push Siniakova back a little bit, but I haven't really seen. I mean, I know Ostapenko just she doesn't really have a plan B. She usually just tries to crush it every ball. But I'm not sure about Kichenok. She seems like to get to the net.
Yeah, she does. And I mean the issue. One of the issues you run into there is Siniakova is not a shorter player. When you're playing like Shuko Aoyama, who's like 5'1" or something, you can lob her pretty easily. But Siniakova, I think she's like 5'9", 5'10", maybe. and her overheads are really good. And if you do get it over her, Krejcikova does a really good job of stepping forward and taking the ball early. So she'll take it on the rise a lot of the time, and she has no issue doing that and going in either direction. She can dip it at your feet if you're at the net. She's so solid from the baseline. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think with the Czechs running a lot of I formation, Ostapenko is going to go for broke on a lot of returns, and she's probably going to have,
as we saw yesterday.
Yeah, she'll probably have a lot of return winners and a lot of return errors. So we'll see how it goes. I think the Czechs, like you said, I think they win probably in maybe two tight sets, maybe a 7-5, 6-3, or 4-3, something like that.
Is 6-4 the tightest set that they've had so far in group play?
Yeah, I think the first set against Krawczyk and Schuurs was 4-all, and then they won 2 consecutive games to win the set. I believe it was something like that. And then they've just looked better and better.
Steamrolled Coco and Pegula 2-1.
Yeah.
And how did they match up against Maya and Daniel?
So they played Shu and Yang.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was 3-3, but there was a lot of there were 7 deciding points. The Czechs won 6 of them. Wow. So it was tighter than the score indicated, but winning 6 of 7 deciding points, obviously you're probably going to win that match. So it's going to be a fun matchup. And then in the evening session, singles will start at 7, followed by doubles. So we have Mertens and Kudermetova, who went undefeated in group play. They lost their first set of the tournament, and then they didn't drop a set after that. They looked really good throughout the rest of group play. And they're going to play Krawczyk and Schuurs, who were the 8 seeds. Not a lot of people picked them to come out of that group.
Yeah.
But they had 2 really good wins against Pegula and Golf, and then Shu and Yang a couple days ago to qualify. So it's going to be a fun matchup. What do you see in the night session?
I mean, Kudermetova and Mertens have looked really solid this whole week. Like you said, they went 3-0 in the group, and both of them have just seemed dialed in. Mertens has been hitting lobs, in and out just about everywhere on the court and pumping up the crowd, and they're both so solid off the ground and just consistent. Kudermetova's, got incredible hands in the net. So I think they're definitely the favorites going into tonight. But with that being said, Desirae and Demi looked really sharp against the Chinese team, who they now have a 3-0 head-to-head against. So they've got to be feeling pretty confident going into that, I would think. And Demi's one of the best, if not the best. Has the best hands at the net, so she'll be all over the net. And Desirae has such good ground strokes and passing shots, and I think they complement each other well. But I don't know if it'll be enough to take out Kudermetova and Mertens.
Yeah, they're gonna have to take some risks. And by that I mean like Schuurs is gonna have to be moving a lot at the net and giving up something, some down the line shots, and hope that she can force some errors or cut some balls off, because neither player is gonna want to really rally for very long with Kudermetova or Mertens. Krawczyk's ground strokes looked really good against the Chinese team, like you said. So if she can hang for just a little bit to set up Demi, I think they've got a shot to, maybe win this match.
Do any of them have big serves? I know Demi and Des, aren't really known for their serves, but
no,
Mertens and Kudermetova are both just more steady.
Yeah, Kudermetova's got a pretty solid serve. Her ground strokes are really big, and she goes for a lot on returns as well. She has a very high return error rate, but she also hits a lot of return winners and forces a lot of errors on the return. So when her return does land in the court, a lot of times you're in trouble. So I'd expect a lot of breaks of serve in this match potentially. And Mertens and Kudermetova being the favorites, they're going to have probably a little easier time holding serve. But if Demi and Des can get into some of those return games and hold their serve, which might come down to some deciding points, like I said earlier. And then if Des can kind of hold her ground at the baseline and win, she's not going to win the majority of those baseline rallies, but if she can win enough of them to stay in the match, I think that they have a shot to, if they win, I would expect it to go 3 sets if they do come out on top. I can't see them winning in straight sets.
So what's your prediction? The favorites go through both rounds?
I think so. I think the Czechs are just too good.
Yeah.
And then I think I could see Demi and Des winning a set, but Kudermetova, since the first set of that first match, she has looked so good from the baseline.
She has.
She's taking the ball early. She can rip her backhand in both directions. Her forehand's really good. She's the more aggressive net player between her and Mertens. And then Mertens is just so steady. She's able to go both directions. She has an excellent lob, good
Great
defensive
return.
volleys, good return. So we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We'll be there. It's about a 15-minute drive from my house here. And definitely watch it on the tennis channel if you're not attending. Look for us on TV. We'll be wearing our
Watch more doubles.